There are two types of coaches and consultants on LinkedIn. There are those who post content and hope someone notices, and there are those who follow a strategic system that consistently attracts high-paying clients. And after working with about 300 service providers now and helping them scale to that next revenue or that next big sort of profit milestone, I've identified a 6-stage system right here on this whiteboard that separates the winners from everyone else, essentially. So this flip chart is what I'm going to go through. It's a little bit close, actually. Let's move it back. But if you want to be in the second camp rather than the first camp, I'm going to show you the exact process in how to do it. And it's the same process I've used, same process our clients have used as well. So this video is going to show you how to make that shift. All right. Now, you may be aspiring to get to 6 figures. Okay. You may be aspiring to get to multi-6 or even 7. I'm on the path to multi-7 now. Fingers crossed, hopefully soon. And I'm not going to gatekeep anything. This is exactly what worked for me. And this is how I've sort of packaged it up and deliver it to our clients. I'm going to give you the high level overview with a little bit of context. Okay. So the first thing, start here. All right. The first thing that you really need control over is your vision and your time. Now, vision's a very fluffy word, so I'm not really going to go into vision because I'll do a whole video on that another time. But you really need to understand where you're putting your time. Now, at the stage of business that you're probably at, if you're watching this and you want to win more clients, there are only really 3 things that you need to worry about, okay? Marketing, sales, and delivery. The aim of marketing is to get leads. The aim of sales is to convert those leads into clients. And the aim of delivery is to get results for those clients. And if you go ahead and look at your calendar every single day or every single week, you'll probably see that the time you spend on sales calls is pretty low compared to the time you spend speaking to people, speaking on stages or sending DMs or creating content, and the time that you actually spend with clients. So sales will probably be like, what, 10%, 20% of your week? So if we ignore that for now, and we're specifically looking at getting clients and they're getting leads and delivering results, we need to make sure that we have time in our diary across, let's say, 7 days, or let's just call it 5 days because you do actually need some time on. All right. We've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. As an example, you can do what the hell you want. You got the morning, you got the afternoon, AM, PM. All right. You're going to have, first and foremost, some commitments that you have to put in. You may do the school run every single day here. So that rules out 2:30 till 3:30. You may go to the gym twice a week. So you have to make sure that those things are up. You might have a date afternoon here or something like that. Okay. So you get in first the life that you want to live, your basic non-negotiables in life. But then we have to factor in these business non-negotiables. All right. So you have to spend time doing what I believe is one of 3 things whenever you're working towards whatever you're working towards. So the first thing here is creating content. All right. So I would recommend doing that in one batch. Let's say it's a Monday morning, you do your content here. All right. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you've got space to have conversations with people. So that's going to be you going and speaking to people in whatever medium you want to do, whether it's calling them up, whether it's knocking on doors, whether it's creating ads for radio, whether it's sending DMs, whether it's emails, whether it's face-to-face networking. You need time to go and have conversations. And then the other thing is you need time to deliver. So you can't sell to people and not deliver. So you need that time in. Now, it might be that you have a Wednesday, let's say a Thursday afternoon is where you have all your client calls here. So we'll be able to see how much space you actually have. We've got all our life non-negotiables, and then we've also got our business non-negotiables aside from this conversations piece. Now, nothing else really fucking matters in business at the start other than you going and selling. So the very first thing I ask our clients to do is set this vision, this sort of future identity, and design the life that they want to live by actually living it out week by week, day by day. But we do not skirt around and miss out the really important stuff. So I would make sure that I had time for conversations and actually going to speaking to people every single possible waking moment that is not taken up by something lifestyle focused and personal, and is not taken up by delivering to clients or creating content. All right. So it's a very, very simple exercise to start with. Now, the next thing, number 2, is making sure that you have an offer. And I like to talk about having a master offer. All right. So an offer that consists of lots of different components that you could, if you wanted to, pull out and sell on their own, or you do what we do most of the time, which is just sell the big thing. All right. Which is the combination of all of them. Now, for me, a good offer consists of 6 things. All right. You will be completely aware of what you sell to people, and you'll be able to articulate each of these things. So the first thing is, they're all begin with P, by the way. So the first thing is the actual people. All right. Who the fuck are you actually selling to? I'm going to move this board over a little bit. Who the hell are you selling to? Because if you don't know who you're selling to, all the other parts in this roadmap sort of become irrelevant. All right. So we have to know exactly who these people are. Now, it might be gender focused. It might be age, might be industry, might be location, might be job title. It might just be a problem. Okay. But once you know that, you're then able to articulate the next thing a hell of a lot better. If you can speak directly to your ideal client's problems and pain points and actually push those buttons that activate them, or that amplify the pain that they're in, they are going to automatically assume that you are the person that has the answer. So this actually informs all the other steps as well. All right. We've set the foundation. We know exactly what we're doing each day, each week, each month. We have a goal and we know how our time is divided up. But now we need to lay another foundation. It sits just on top of this, which is obviously the offer. So we have an idea of the people that we're trying to sell to. Now, it could be corporate, could be individuals, could be consumers, whatever. Typically, we help people sell B2B. After that, we want to be acutely aware again of the problems that they face. Now, they could be financial problems. They could be mindset problems. They could be operational or logistical problems. It could just be some other type of problem that they encounter day to day that stops them just living their life. It could be a health-related problem, something like that, something more physical. But we want to be able to articulate these because, as I mentioned before, you can speak directly to this person. You know their age, you know where they live, you know that kind of thing. And you also can then start to speak about the problems too. You're just getting clearer and clearer. And I'm not saying like niche down to the nth degree and start selling to like left-handed people from Luxembourg who only eat Frosties on Tuesday evenings or something. Or I eat Frosties on Tuesday evening or whatever. And maybe you got the munchies. But that's the next thing. Okay. So we got the people. We know the problems. Then we want to work out what I call the phases. All right. Now, the phases for me are the stages that you go through with a client, or that a client has to go through, or you take them through. So if you look at this roadmap as a whole, it's made up of 6 things. These could be our 6 stages or our 6 phases, because what buys a lot of sort of credibility when someone wants to work with you is the fact that you've got this map, this roadmap, as I like to call it, of phases. First and foremost, we get clear on your time. Then we look at your offer. Then we look at the content, those kind of things. So we can articulate, mine's very simple. It's build, market, sell. So we build offer, build systems, build an identity based on our goal. And then we move on to marketing. Then we move on to selling, which is kind of the path we're going to take on this. All right. So you need a clear roadmap, a journey that you can take people on that actually helps them visualize, oh shit, when I work with him or when I work with her or work with them, this is going to happen, that this is going to happen. And they can literally see it unfolding in front of their eyes, either before they bought or even hopped on a call or when they're about to buy. Really, really helpful. After that, we move to the parts. And when I say parts, I basically mean deliverables. All right. You'll notice we haven't really spoken much about what people actually get. But you know the journey that they need to go on to go from A all the way to B. So now we just need to make sure that the stuff that we give to them or the stuff that they get from us actually supports that journey and slots into these stages and actually speeds it up or amplifies it or whatever. All right. And as an example, we have a custom built GPT trained on all of our frameworks for each one of these sections. So we have a skeleton offer builder that will help you build your offer in about 20 minutes. All right. And then we refine it and go in a lot more detail. We have the same with content strategy, etc., etc. So that's one of our deliverables. The other thing is we have a couple of calls each week. And therefore, we're able to help you address problems in real time. We have a 24/7 community where you can ask questions or you can link up with other people and you can celebrate your wins. So there are all these different things that we plugged in here. So you just want to make sure, because a lot of people just do coaching for the sake of it. You know, they'll say, oh, you get 12 calls, fucking great. But actually, if they're not tied to some sort of map or journey, and they're not enhancing that journey, if you do have one, then they're pretty much useless. So you want to make sure that you've got the main thing that you deliver, and then a load of support around it that helps that person go from A to B. The next thing, after we've done the deliverables, is looking at the price. All right, big one. I'm not going to go into pricing too much, but probably like 80% of people who are watching this video are not charging enough. I firmly don't believe that we charge enough. I think we should be putting our prices up. However, we still want to make things accessible. And there's probably like a limiting belief somewhere in my mindset where it's like, oh, I can't go above that number for whatever reason, you know, so-and-so said so, or someone said this on a sales call. I've got to keep it under XYZ amount. But you need to probably put your prices up or roll out a model that's sort of more consistent and helps you. And that's kind of what we do at the start is paint this vision. You know, where do you want to be at financially in 6, 12, 24, 36 months, whatever. Because all this feeds that. Right? That's why we start with this. It's super, super important. So in terms of putting your price up, I'll say one thing on this. It's very, very easy to put your price up when you have conviction in what you sell. Now, if you are just starting out or you're launching a brand new offer or something like that, your conviction in that thing is probably going to be pretty low. You're not actually going to be able to go, right, yeah, this is worth 35 grand or, you know, something like that. You're probably going to want to start a bit smaller, which is absolutely fine. To be honest, the price doesn't matter so much at the start as much as going and having the conversations and speaking to the clients and actually gain clients is. So you can, once your experience and your processes and all this stuff gets more and more solidified because you've actually gone and delivered it, you will be able to raise your prices because you will have raised your conviction at the same time. Now, I am of the firm belief that what we sell is like, it's worth 10 times what we charge for it because it has such a lasting effect. And if you hear me speak about what I sell or what we sell, you will see that I speak about it with conviction because I believe in it like to my core. I know they changes lives because we've got tons and tons of client success sort of stories and interviews and screenshots and comments and all these different things where we know that we've had a massive impact on people. All right. So my conviction is very high, but I've been doing this for 3 years, so it should fucking be high. If it wasn't high, you know, we probably wouldn't be doing a very good job at it all. So that's the last thing, second to last thing. The actual last thing is what I call a promise. Some people will call this positioning. Some people will call it your one-liner. And this is ultimately the we help or I help certain type of audience achieve certain type of outcome in duration without a pain point by the way that you do it. So you'll see this in everyone's LinkedIn headlines, like I help coaches achieve something, or I help coaches get more leads. A lot of people overthink this. You just need to say specifically the person that you help, what you help them achieve, so the result, and the method, so how you help them do it. All right. Specific person who wants a specific outcome or result done in a very specific way. That's it. Okay. So again, these aren't the exciting parts of this roadmap. And this is what a lot of people will skip. They won't get clear on the time. They won't go and spend any time on their vision or the identity that they have to go and embody to allow them to achieve the vision itself. And they certainly won't go in depth about the offer. So they won't have any offer mechanics or economics in place to make sure that this is actually a viable thing, not only for their ability to sell it, but also for them as a person. Does this fit in with this? Because if the business doesn't feed your lifestyle, you'll end up doing what I did, and you'll end up massively overworking, and you will end up resenting the business. And they call it the golden handcuffs, right? You'll be making the money potentially, but you'll be working hell for leather. So I kind of had to go back and do this work when actually I wish someone had just sat me down and said, this is what you need to do from the start. Okay. So now we have a clear timetable, a clear vision. We have a clear offer. We know what we're selling. We know who we're selling it to. We know how we're going to deliver it. We know how much it costs. We know the journey that we're going to take people on. And we know how to actually articulate it so it's positioned to solve a problem. The next thing is we need to market this. Market it. And for me, marketing is pretty much split up into two things. All right. I want to talk quickly about our methodology, which is, I call it the CTC methodology. All right. This is a marketing funnel or a journey. We bring attention in here. So we capture new attention. We build trust with that attention. And then we convert the attention, as I mentioned here, into a lead. All right. Once we converted that into a lead, we move to the next stage. So every single one of your actions, whether it's a conversation, whether it's you putting some content out, needs to fall into one of these three objectives. Are you trying to speak to someone new? Are you trying to speak to someone or build trust with someone who already knows who you are? Or are you trying to convert someone? And there's a whole separate, a million videos about content strategy and stuff. So I want to keep this really, really simple. All right. Two ways. You have conversations. So we have the Conversations OS inside C2C, and you have content. If we think about what those are, conversations tend to be one-to-one. Content tends to be one-to-many. Now, what most people want to do in business and in life is just do one thing once and have loads of opportunity or money or leads or whatever come to them. So people expect that they can just put out content organically and magically their inbox is just going to be fucking flooded with leads. That is not going to happen. It might happen at the start when you exhaust your little black book and you use your existing network and sort of put a brand new offer in front of them. But after a while, you're going to have to switch that up. That worked really well for me at the start. But ultimately, it comes down to this, all right? You have to go, especially at the start, and go and have conversations one-to-one with people. Sometimes you will know them, and it'll be a very easy conversion. Sometimes you might know them a little bit, might know the name, or sometimes you might even have to go cold. Now, I'm not coming on here saying I'm a massive advocate for cold messages or anything like that. I haven't sent a cold message in years. I did at the start to build on my Instagram following because that's what I needed to do. And chances are you're probably going to have to go and speak to some strangers as well. And that's where you got a choice, all right? You either want the outcome, you either want the money, or you don't. Or you want the lifestyle or the freedom or whatever the vision is, or you don't. And if you don't, that's fine. You know, live whatever life you're living. But if you actually want to change, you're going to have to change something. And it probably sits somewhere on this flip chart, right? So for me, I recommend doing some hard work and having these conversations. Now, what I like to do when I'm having conversations, I call this our priority pipeline, is we start down here. You know, most marketing takes people from cold to warm. What we want to do is go hot to cold, all right? So we would only ever message people cold if there was no opportunity to speak to people who were warm or who were hot, all right? Moving on to number 4, all right? Recap again. We've got a vision. We've plugged in our daily or weekly or monthly sort of tasks and timetable to make sure we can achieve it. We've spent time positioning an offer that we know we can sell and that fits in with the goal. Then we have engineered some form of marketing strategy that gets leads. And this is massive. You know, we're not going to go into this all in this video. We've got some leads, all right? Whether we knew them before or not, kind of doesn't matter. And this is where we help people build out a signature sales system, all right? Because lots of people will think, oh, I just get a lead and then I close them. But this lead has to go through a process, even when they become a lead. Even if someone said, oh, I might be interested in working with you, you still got to take them on a journey to get them to pay you or to get them results. So this is what the signature sales system sort of looks like, all right? First and foremost, you can get leads that they're not qualified, all right? They'll be tire kickers or they're just not the type of person that you want to work with. So we need a qualification and a disqualification process at the start, all right? And I'm going to assume, because most people still do, that you sell using sales calls, okay? So you hop on a Zoom with someone or maybe have a meeting, and this is going to be reflective of that, okay? So signature sales system. First and foremost, we qualify this person, all right? Then we actually need to get them to commit to a call somehow. Now, we use Calendly to do both of these things, and we use it in a very specific way where we can weed out any tire kickers pretty early on, all right? Once they've booked in this call, we then don't just wait for however long, 72 hours, until the call takes place. There's still a whole journey here to ensure that this person, 1, shows up, 2, shows up excited, and 3, shows up ready to take action. Now, you may close over multiple calls, you may close over one, whatever. Doesn't really matter, okay? We need a sequence, and I call this our success sequence here, that really crushes any misconceptions, any questions, any objections that our potential clients have in between booking the call and the call taking place 24, 48, 72 hours later, okay? Now, when the call happens, we still have a micro journey within that. I actually break ours down into 7. Got it printed out somewhere. We have a sales call roadmap, and there are 7 stages, but I'm going to keep it a little bit simpler here. All right. 3 stages. First and foremost is the discovery. Then we have the pitch. Then we have the close. All right. And this is all part of the signature sales system. So the discovery is really about you finding out information, as much information as you can. And typically that'll look like the current situation, so where they're at now, the desired situation, and then the blockers that are standing in the way of that. All right. Once you have this information and you've asked a lot more questions, you've probably pushed on some pain points and really amplified the pain, and maybe cast a future vision of what life or business might look like with or without your solution, then you can deliver a pitch. But you deliver it in a very specific and tailored way, because you use this information at the discovery part of the call to frame the whole pitch. That's when sales becomes relevant and personalized, and it actually wields much better results too. So we pitch in a very specific way. I actually like to do it like this. So we've got the big promise that we talk about. So as you probably know, Dave, we help people achieve this. We do it in a very specific way. So we talk about the phases. And then I just briefly touch on the parts or the deliverables. So here's what you get when you actually work with us. How does that all sound? Then price. All right. You don't necessarily need to talk about this. You don't necessarily need to talk about this, but I will do it in that order. Okay. We go big to small. So we talk about the big promise, get them bought into the vision and how you can help them. Then we talk about the journey to get to that outcome. Then we actually speak about, here are the tools or the things that we give you, the service that we deliver in order to facilitate the journey. And then here's how much it costs. All right. Once you've done this, we move on to close. This person will either have questions or objections or not. You handle them or not. If you do, we move on to stage 5. If you don't, then what we need to do is try and handle them, obviously, or follow up. So we also need an FUP, a follow-up process in place as well. And that could be automated, semi-automated. I prefer personalized, because every single one of these conversations that we have is completely different. You know, every person's unique, every business is unique. Anyway, we're going to continue on the mission and say, oh, okay, we have closed someone. So now we actually have to deliver what it is we deliver, or whatever it is we sell. So this is stage number 5. Now, this is exciting because we've actually done, this is where our hard work's starting to pay off. It's tying in, hopefully, with the vision, because we know what we're selling and we know what our day-to-day looks like, and it's all in tune with a better version of ourselves living in a future state, and we know how to achieve it. We know how we're selling it. We've marketed it. The marketing's worked. We've got leads, and now we've put them through a system that is starting to work, and it's starting to generate us money and clients, which is why we're in business, I'm assuming, alongside freedom. So we move on to delivery. And for me, delivery kind of has 4 stages if we're looking at it from a top-down view, right? I'm going to stand over here now. I'm forever moving things around. So the first point, go even further. The first point, when we work with someone, we actually need to have an onboarding process of some description. All right. When we onboard people in a bad way, they don't feel valued. The whole process is vague. They have loads and loads of unanswered questions. They've just paid us money, but they're not seeing anything in return. And that will help them or give them buyer's remorse. All right. So we need a strong onboarding process where we show people this is exactly what happens. Here is the roadmap. Here's what you need to do. Here's what we do as the supplier. And here's sort of the timeline that you should expect it to be associated with. Once we've done that, we actually need to just deliver the thing. All right. So whether you're a coach or a consultant, you are just coaching or consulting or delivering accounting once a month or whatever it is. Now, the thing that people miss a lot of the time are, we kind of touched on it here, but enhancing this journey with 2 things, all right? Support and materials. So I mentioned earlier on, we have a number of calls each week. we also have a place where you can access support 24/7. So you can ask questions 24/7. We also have a shitload of materials and IP and systems that accelerate this. God, this is an absolute steak. That accelerate this journey. All right. And what this does is just enhance whatever it is you deliver. Okay. Then you will reach an endpoint, which is completely natural. An endpoint. Yeah. So someone is either going to offboard, they are going to renew and continue working with you, or you're going to ascend, upsell, or cross-sell. So make more money from them and retain them as a client in some form. And this is super crucial. You don't want this necessarily to be like a carbon copy for every single client, but you certainly want repeatability with the stuff that you deliver to people. You want it to be predictable. So when you get a new client, you know, oh, I have to send the contract, or my VA sends the contract, or it's all done via a click of a button or via some automation. You want to know that you meet this person 12 times, or you meet on group calls. You want to know that you're giving them access to some materials and tell them what they're going to do. You want to give them a roadmap. All that does is just really, really bolster the service and make people go, fucking hell, this is brilliant. End to end, it's working. And I can see what I need to do next. And there is very, very little guesswork. The last thing that you want clients having to do when they start working with you, or when they've been working with you for ages, is guess. Okay, because guesswork just means things are vague. And when things are vague, people do stupid shit and act emotionally. And you don't want to do that. And you definitely don't want your clients doing that either. Okay, so we've got a pretty solid kind of business plan in place here, right? I'm not going to recap. I've already done it. I'll recap right at the end. So how do we make this better? Okay, how do we make this better? You can always go back and tune the vision. You can always go back and tweak the offer. You can always change up the marketing or outsource certain parts of it, which we'll probably come on to in a second. You can always change things inside your sales system. However, we've not changed our sales system in, I don't know, 2.5 years, 3 years, because it's working. So why the fuck would we? Our close rate's really, really good. And I know it's because we've relied on organic marketing, but anyway. The next thing is obviously we're getting clients results because we've got this roadmap or the phases, and all we're doing is just making this sort of better and better every time and trying to speed up what is known as the time to value or the time to win. We're making sure clients get results as fast as possible. Even if that's just, it doesn't have to be a money result. It could just be an aha moment or a very quick win where they've done something that they've been putting off for ages. But what we really want to do now, once we're happy enough with this stuff, because you'll never be 100% happy with it, we want to pour petrol on the fire. All right. And the way that I sort of articulate this to our clients is an acronym, crazily named acronym called SCALE. All right. So once things are working, and let me just talk about SCALE actually for a second. All right. Most people will want to scale their business. That's great. Okay. So I think scaling is the last thing that you should do, because a lot of the time in the early stages, your business is really messy. All right. You don't necessarily know what's going on from day to day. There's not as many processes or sort of IP in place to put constraints in and allow you to just do things repeatedly. So unless you have something repeatable that already works, scaling is the worst thing that you can do, which is why we take our clients through these stages. Because ultimately, if they've not got something repeatable and reliable, and scaling is just to make something bigger. So you shine a magnifying glass over a pile of shit, you're just going to have a bigger pile of shit, which is not what we want. So I always recommend, first and foremost, that you come through and you master yourself. And I'm talking about self-mastery. So you can self-regulate your emotions when things go wrong. You have complete control of your calendar and you know what you need to do. All right. You are good at writing and potentially delivering on camera, as an example, or doing lives or however, speaking on stages. So you're good at that. You've got a validated sales system that people don't drop out of all the time and people actually show up for calls. All right. You are getting clients results. Once you've done these things, then you can really start to systemize them. And this is the bit that people are missing. All right. They're trying to do something themselves. They'll go, oh, this is cool. And then they'll try and scale it to the moon. When actually you just need a system. And when I say a system, it could just be a process or a framework or something like that. But trying to jump from the ground all the way up to scaling is a really, really bad idea, which is why it's last. Every single one of these elements is built upon a system, which is the first element, I believe, of scaling things up. Okay. We systemize it and we build a process out of it. The next thing is we build in evergreen content. So you should always have an eye on content being like repostable or used in certain areas of the journey. But as part of our success sequence, we have a video which you watch after you book a call, and it tells you exactly what's going to happen. And talks about the program, showcases some sort of results and stuff like that as well. And that's evergreen content because it's been seen by or I hope it has been seen by every single person who's ever booked a call. The next thing is automation. Now, this could mean a whole host of things. All right. I'll use onboarding as an example. So when you hop on a call with us, you join C2C, you pay us money, we fill in one quick form, all right, with a few details. And what this does is sends a contract to you to sign. It then gives you access to the relevant things that you need. So our support system and our portal. It then sends a message to my bookkeeper to send an invoice. And it then informs the client success team that we have a new client and they need to go and say hello and welcome them to the program. Okay, there are a few other things. But that's an example of automation that we have in one of these tiny stages. If you think all this is a journey, all right, every single part of this is a journey that I've kind of walked you through. We've gone from someone not knowing who we are to building trust with us to actually converting. We've qualified them. We've taken them to a call. We've made them show up. We've gone through and made sure that they're the right fit for us. We're the right fit for them. We pitched a solution. They're happy with it. They've closed and paid us the money. They've onboarded. There's all these steps within this system, right? Or this journey that people are ticking off, and it can take a while to get through it. But we want to automate certain parts of that once it's proven. If it can't be automated, which a lot of things are automated, but probably shouldn't be. You actually want a human touch. I mentioned here that our client success team reach out to new clients and say hello and welcome them in. We don't want to automate that. It creates a disconnect. So what we do there is, I call this labor. It's not necessarily the best word, but it's the only word beginning with L that I could think of. That's another element of scale. Okay, labor. Getting people to do some work for you. It could be work that you hate. It could be work that you're shit at. It could be work that is admin focused and doesn't really need a CEO or a founder focusing on it. So you pay someone else to do it. And these things, what these things do for you, once you systemize stuff and build content around it and automate things and get other people to do stuff, it completely changes your day to day. It completely changes your diary and the things that you have to work on, because you may get someone writing your content for you or potentially having some conversations for you. You might hire a sales rep to take some calls for you. All of a sudden, you've got no sales calls in the calendar that you have to take personally. And you're like, shit, I can just go back over here and make some of the marketing better, or I can go and change the offer, or I can launch something even higher ticket that I deliver to people one-to-one or whatever, okay? So I'll do a separate video on this at some point. The last thing, and this is the most important thing, and this is what I want to end the video with, really, is this letter E. And letter E stands for elimination. And the reason that this is last, not only because it's E, is because I wanted to end on this point. You are probably, if you're not reaching your goals, you're not making the right amount of money that you want to make, you haven't got a vision or a product or a service that you're really, really happy with, and you're basically just not getting what you want out of life or business or both. And it's fine to be there. I'm still there some days and some months. But it's probably because you're doing loads of stuff. You're taking the actions. You probably had some advice that you followed, or you just worked out your own method of doing things. But you need to eliminate some shit. You don't actually, you're probably doing a version of all this stuff already. You just need to simplify it. So I would urge you to cut the crap out of what you're doing, okay? If it doesn't get you closer to your goal, which you should be, as I've said a few times, acutely aware of, why the fuck are you doing it, all right? You're looking, I guess, for some dopamine, something that makes you feel good, which is fine. It's great to feel good. I'm not saying you shouldn't have emotions or you should feel bad, but do the thing anyway, which sometimes you should. But you need to get rid of a lot of the stuff that you're doing. There are some very, very basic actions. Okay, very basic actions. And the biggest one that people, they'd rather go and build a website than go and have conversations with people. They'd rather go and get some branded fucking t-shirts made in a cap than just actually having conversations with people. That's probably the thing that you need to do the most, but you're probably doing everything else but it right at the moment. So this is my urge and my sort of plea to you. Just forget anything that isn't getting calls booked in your calendar. Unless you're at a revenue or a profit sort of milestone that you're currently happy with. In that case, it's fine. So if you want to find out more about how we might be able to help, I'm going to stick a link under this video for you to book a call with us. We work with coaches, consultants, sort of expert-led founders who want to win more clients using organic content and organic conversations, predominantly on LinkedIn, bit of YouTube, bit of Instagram, bit of email, but predominantly on LinkedIn. We don't advocate sending cold DMs. We don't talk about ads. We don't have, as you can see here, anything too complex. So we don't have any like crazy funnels and fucking landing pages everywhere and shit like that. This is the work that is going to get you to 6 figures. Now, I've pretty much just pulled back the curtain and given it all to you. And so you can go and execute on this. There's obviously a lot of detail being missed out. But if you do it on your own, it's probably going to take you a long time. So if you're serious about changing your life and reaching this next marker, it doesn't have to be 6 figures, could be whatever, right? If you're serious about that, then we can help you do it faster. When we speak to people on calls, a lot of the time there are 3 reasons why they want to join and work with us. And I put it again, another acronym. It's the acronym SAD. So SAD. The reason that people want to work with us is speed, because they want to do something faster. Accountability, because they don't want to have to guesswork and they might need their arse kicking a bit. Chances are you do. I know I do. That's why I have a coach. And D is for direction. So they want a proven path. They don't want to be going left, right, backwards, diagonally, horizontally, whatever. They just want one straight path that they can follow, which, you know, I've pretty much given to you here. Obviously, our materials look a little bit better than this. But if you want to find out more, there is a load of information and a load of client results. We have got, I think, don't quote me on this, I'm going to say it anyway, more results than all our competitor programs combined when it comes to organic marketing on LinkedIn. And I think that's true. I hope it's true. As far as I've seen, it's true. So there is a reason that we do what we do. We're fucking good at it, and we will make you or help you become fucking good at it as well. So go and check out the link underneath the video. I'll probably stick some like free training as well if you want to see this in a bit more of a flashy sort of slideshow type thing. But yeah, hope that was helpful, and I will catch you soon.